Some stories start with a bang, a gunshot, a declaration of war, a cataclysmic event that shakes the very foundations of the world. These are the tales of heroes and villains, of empires rising and falling, of destinies forged in the crucible of conflict. They grab you by the throat and never let go, pulling you into a whirlwind of action and intrigue. But this one starts with a whisper, a secret murmured in the dead of night, a hushed plea for help, a silent promise of revenge. It begins not with a roar, but with the barely audible rustle of hope in the face of despair, a glint of metal in a forgotten corner, a spoon, an object so mundane, so utterly unremarkable, that it's easily overlooked. Lost in the shadows, gathering dust seemingly devoid of any significance. In most hands it's nothing, a tool for sustenance, a means to an end, a simple utensil used and then discarded without a second thought. It represents the ordinary, the everyday, the unremarkable. In his, it's everything, a symbol of defiance, a weapon of hope, a lifeline in a sea of despair. It represents the difference between survival and oblivion, between freedom and eternal confinement. Locked in a concrete box, a cage designed to crush the spirit and extinguish all hope, inmate 778 finds a discarded spoon, a forgotten relic of the outside world. During mess hall cleaning, a moment of carelessness, a lapse in vigilance, a crack in the seemingly impenetrable armor of the system. The system prides itself on perfection, on absolute control, on the meticulous elimination of any potential threat. Every detail is scrutinized, every movement monitored, every possibility accounted for. But a single oversight, a spoon left behind, becomes a spark. A tiny ember of hope in the overwhelming darkness, a catalyst for change, a symbol of resistance. He could have turned it in, surrendered it to the authorities, accepted his fate, but he doesn't. He slips it into his sleeve, heart pounding, adrenaline surging through his veins. A small act of rebellion, a dangerous gamble, a declaration of war against the system. The spoon is now a secret, a promise, a key, a symbol of his unwavering determination, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a tool that will unlock his path to freedom. Blackgate Penitentiary, a tomb for the living, a fortress of despair, a place where hope goes to die. Hope meant to die here. Crushed beneath the weight of concrete and steel, suffocated by the oppressive atmosphere of confinement. But even in the darkest places where shadows reign supreme and despair festers, a spark of defiance can ignite a fire. A flame of hope that refuses to be extinguished, a burning desire for freedom that cannot be contained. The world had forgotten him, written him off as another statistic, another lost cause. But it made one small, critical error, a fatal flaw in its seemingly impenetrable design. It left him a spoon, a simple, unassuming object that would become the instrument of his liberation. With that spoon, he saw not an end, but a beginning. Not a symbol of his confinement, but a tool to carve his way to freedom. He looked at the impenetrable wall, a seemingly insurmountable barrier that stood between him and the outside world, and saw a starting point. A challenge to be overcome, an obstacle to be conquered, a canvas upon which he would paint his escape. The journey would take months of labor, terror, and tenacity. A grueling test of his physical and mental endurance, a constant battle against despair and exhaustion. Our story begins not with action, not with a daring escape or a violent confrontation, but with the desperate hope, the unwavering belief that even in the face of impossible odds, freedom is still possible. Of a man with nothing left to lose. A man who has been stripped of everything but his will to survive, his determination to reclaim his life. He held a simple spoon, an object so ordinary that it's easily dismissed. But in his mind, it was already a chisel. A tool of transformation, a means to reshape his destiny, a symbol of his unwavering resolve. The world had thrown away the key, locked him away and forgotten him, but he had found his own. A makeshift key forged from hope and desperation, a testament to the power of human ingenuity. The first tremor of an earthquake was set in motion. The initial crack in the seemingly impenetrable facade of Blackgate Penitentiary, the beginning of its inevitable downfall. They said no one could break out of Blackgate. It was considered an impossibility, a feat beyond human capability. They forgot about the power of the human spirit, the indomitable will to survive, the unwavering belief in the possibility of freedom, the refusal to surrender in the face of overwhelming odds. And with that spoon, he was about to dig his way back into legend, to become a symbol of hope for the oppressed, a testament to the power of the human spirit, and a legend that would echo through the ages. His name was Arthur Silas Kane, A name that once echoed in the halls of high society, now whispered in the shadows of Blackgate Penitentiary. A man of intellect, a man of mystery. But inside Blackgate, they called him the Ghost. A moniker earned not through violence but through an uncanny ability to seemingly disappear. He moved through the prison unseen, a phantom in the concrete labyrinth. Guards would swear he was just there, only to turn around and find him gone. A master of observation, never drawing attention. He blended into the background, a chameleon adapting to the harsh environment. He was a student of human behavior, understanding the rhythms and patterns of prison life. 2 life sentences for high-stakes heists, a testament to his audaciousness and skill. Never violent, always brilliant. He orchestrated his crimes with the precision of a surgeon, leaving no trace but empty vaults and bewildered authorities. A former structural engineer, his mind was a steel trap, capable of dissecting complex systems and identifying their breaking points. He saw the world's weaknesses and exploited them. Every building, every security system, every routine had a flaw, and Silas Kane knew how to find it. His crimes were art, meticulously planned, flawlessly executed, elegant, a ballet of intellect and daring, precise, almost invisible. He moved through the world like a whisper, leaving no echo of his presence. He was caught not by mistake, not by a slip-up in his meticulous planning, but betrayal, a trusted confidant, a deal gone sour, a price on his head. Inside he was the model prisoner, an enigma to the guards and a curiosity to his fellow inmates, quiet, compliant, seemingly resigned to his fate, reading philosophy, working in the library, a picture of rehabilitation. The system thought it had broken him, crushed his spirit, and extinguished the flame of his intellect. It hadn't. They underestimated the depth of his resolve, the resilience of his mind. Silas was studying, but not the texts on the shelves. Memorizing every guard's route, their habits, their weaknesses, every shift change, every blind spot in the surveillance system, every crack in the routine, every moment of complacency. He learned the blueprints of his new cage, the intricate network of tunnels and corridors. As he had the banks he once robbed, turning their defenses into his own personal playground. His reputation as the Ghost made him invisible, a paradox that served him well. No one suspected, no one watched him closely. They saw only a broken man, not a master strategist. While others drew attention with their anger and desperation, Silas faded into the walls, becoming one with the shadows. True power, he knew, came from listening, from observing, from understanding. In the silence of his cell, surrounded by concrete and steel, he listened for opportunity, for the subtle shifts in the prison's rhythm. He was not broken, he was merely dormant. He was waiting, patiently, meticulously, for the perfect moment to strike. Every detail, every oversight, every lapse in security was a potential escape route, a thread in the tapestry of his grand design. The Ghost was ready to haunt the system, to expose its vulnerabilities and exploit its weaknesses. That thought it had buried him, forgotten him, erased him from existence. He was a legend in waiting, a phantom ready to materialize. And soon, he would prove it, reminding them all why they called him the Ghost. Blackgate Penitentiary was more than a prison, it was a fortress. 30-foot walls, razor-wire seismic sensors, and watchtowers with sharpshooters. Inside, pods of concrete cells, steel doors, no windows, and plumbing encased in solid concrete. Guards were elite patrols, randomized head counts constant. In 50 years no one had ever escaped. The warden boasted, God himself couldn't break out, but arrogance breeds oversight. They built a perfect machine for bodies, not minds. Every fortress has a flaw, if you know where to look. The discovery was subtle, almost imperceptible, a detail so minute it would be overlooked by anyone not actively searching. But Silas was searching, with every fiber of his being. It started with a difference in sound, a dull thud beneath the sink, masked by the constant hum of the prison. Not the solid, reassuring echo of reinforced concrete, but something hollow. During maintenance, when the sounds of the prison were at their loudest, Silas listened even more intently, filtering out the clatter and clang, mapping the unseen corridor behind his cell in his mind. He memorized every pipe, every vibration. He noticed a spot, no bigger than his hand, where the wall's resonance changed, a subtle shift in the way the sound traveled through the dense material. To most, it would have been meaningless noise, just another echo in the cacophony of prison life. The guards certainly wouldn't have noticed. But to Silas, it was a sign, a whisper from the other side, a potential weakness in the fortress that held him captive. He tested it for weeks, under the cover of darkness, during the din of mealtimes. Any moment he could steal. Tapping, listening, confirming, his suspicions growing with each passing day. A flaw, no bigger than a dinner plate, a circle of imperfection in a sea of gray. Maybe an air bubble trapped during the original construction, a pocket of nothingness within the solid mass. Or maybe thin rebar, poorly placed, offering less resistance than the surrounding concrete. An error buried for 50 years, a secret whispered by the very walls that held him. It was invisible to the casual observer, but he could feel it, the subtle difference in texture, the almost imperceptible give. The wall wasn't perfect, and in its imperfection lay a sliver of hope. The tomb wasn't seamless. The architects of his confinement had made a mistake, however small. He had found the lock, the hidden mechanism that could potentially unlock his freedom. Now, he needed a key, something to exploit the weakness, to turn the flaw into an escape route. The idea was insane, bordering on delusional, but hope flickered, a tiny flame in the darkness of his despair. He mapped the area, inch by inch, in secret, committing every detail to memory, a mental blueprint of his potential escape. The knowledge burned in his mind, a secret he guarded more fiercely than his own life. The challenge was monumental, a seemingly impossible task, but the opportunity was real, tangible within his grasp. He saw the flaw as a door, not a dead end, a portal to a life beyond these walls. The system's arrogance, its unwavering belief in its own infallibility, had left a crack, a vulnerability. He was the only one who knew, the sole possessor of this vital secret. The impossible now seemed possible, a distant dream inching closer to reality. He needed a tool, something to exploit the weakness in the wall, something to break through. The plan began to form, a complex web of calculated risks and desperate measures. For the first time in years, hope returned, not as a fleeting fancy, but as a solid, unwavering force. The spoon came to him through calculated risk. On mess hall duty, he watched for stray utensils. One day a spoon landed in the trash, his chance. In a blind spot, he palmed it, slipped it into his jumpsuit, and kept moving. Hiding it was the next challenge. He hollowed out the spine of War and Peace, creating a sheath for the spoon. The book sat on his shelf, untouched by guards. Each night he retrieved the spoon, the cold steel a reminder of his purpose. He now had the flaw and the instrument. The impossible task was about to begin. Every detail was planned, every risk calculated. The first step toward freedom was complete. The work was slow, each night a ritual of scraping concrete with a sharpened spoon. He used cardboard to catch dust, feigned sleep, and listened for guards. Progress was measured in powder and pebbles, debris flushed or scattered in the yard. For 6 months he lived 2 lives, model prisoner by day, miner by night. The physical and mental toll was immense. Every sound in the corridor was a threat. One mistake would end everything. But he pressed on, night after night, driven by the hope of escape. The nights blurred together, fear, focus, and the constant threat of discovery. A new guard lingered outside his cell one night, flashlight sweeping the floor. Silas froze, feigning sleep, heart pounding. The guard moved on. To hide the hole, Silas crafted a cardboard plug camouflaged with concrete dust and water. The smell was masked with bleach, requested under the guise of cleaning. After months, he broke through the first layer only to hit rebar. He couldn't cut it, so he dug around, twisting his tunnel through the steel web. The work slowed, became more delicate. He was now a sculptor, not just a digger. Every night, he risked everything. The tunnel grew inch by inch. The spoon, now worn and bent, was his lifeline. The wall was nearly breached. The plan was almost ready. He waited for the perfect moment. The storm would be his cover. The escape was within reach. One last push remained. The perfect night arrived with a raging storm. Thunder, rain, and power flickers. The chaos masked all sound. Silas stuffed his bunk to look occupied and returned to the wall. He squeezed through the tunnel, scraping skin and clothes into the service corridor. Guided by memory, he crawled to a ventilation shaft. 4 rusted bolts held the grate. He used the spoon to loosen them. He crawled into the shaft, wind howling, metal scraping his hands. At the roof, the storm was at its peak. He pried open the exterior grate. Below, guards battled the elements. He used a rope of braided bed sheets to rappel down the wall. He landed in the no man's land, vanishing into the storm. The impossible had happened. The ghost was gone. Blackgate's legend was shattered. A man with a spoon had escaped. The next morning, chaos erupted. Silas Kane had vanished. The story became legend. the man who escaped with a spoon. A massive manhunt began, but the ghost was always a step ahead. For 18 months he lived free, changing his appearance, working odd jobs, never contacting anyone from his past. He didn't seek crime, just freedom. His capture was anticlimactic, a broken taillight, a routine stop, a hunch. The legend ended quietly, but the impact was seismic. Blackgate's reputation was destroyed. The warden retired in disgrace. The prison was overhauled, protocols rewritten. Silas's escape became a case study in human ingenuity. Concrete and steel can't contain a determined mind. The ghost had changed everything. Even after his recapture, mystery clung to Silas Kane's story. Was he truly alone? Or did he have help, inside or out? The storm, the spoon, the flaw in the wall? Too many coincidences. Some suspect a hidden accomplice, but no evidence was found. How did he evade capture for so long? Was there a support network? Silas never revealed his secrets. The unanswered questions turned his escape into legend. Was Silas Kane a genius, a man who saw systems to be defeated? Or was he simply lucky? The spoon, the flaw, the storm, each could have gone another way. Maybe it was both genius to see opportunity, luck to have it appear. Any other inmate might have missed the chance. Silas turned luck into liberation. His story challenges us: what are we capable of when all we have is our mind and will? Was he a criminal, or a symbol of the unbreakable human spirit? The truth lies somewhere in between. His escape remains a puzzle. What do you think?